edition of Deconversion Stories. Today, I'm talking with Jennifer, who's also known, well, her pen name will be, what is it?
Jasmine A. Thrash.
Jasmine, that's right, which is the one I use in the title. But because you never know, because you might actually see that name around in the future as a pen name. Because Jennifer here is going to be writing for TV. Well, that's the hope anyways. But anyway, we'll get into that a little bit later. But what I usually do here first is I talk to people about their journeys away from whatever belief systems they were once a part of. And, the ups, the downs, that kind of thing. And, what kind of an effect it had on family members and friends and stuff like that. So what I usually ask is for people to go back to as far as they can remember when they were in some sort of belief and how they sort of noticed all the dominoes falling, excuse me, and then what led you to becoming the atheist, I guess, that you are today.
Okay. I literally grew up in church. My parents took me to church for the first time when I was like 6 weeks old, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Raised in a Southern Baptist evangelical community in Northwest Louisiana. We were in church every Sunday, every Wednesday. I did all the activities, Awana and Team Kid and Vacation Bible School in the summer and all that stuff. We did, family devotionals every night at home. Mm-hmm. My parents, were even a little bit more strict, I guess, a little bit more conservative even than everyone else in our church, but not quite.
Really?
They weren't like fully like on the fundamentalist end of it.
Okay.
But, I wasn't allowed to watch Pokemon or read Harry Potter or
what?
any of that stuff.
That's evil.
I know, right? And I fully believed in all of it for, my entire childhood and teenage years and going into young adult years. But even when I did believe, I always had questions. There were always issues I had with certain aspects of evangelical culture. And when I would try to bring that up, ask somebody about it, I never really got satisfactory answers.
Right.
So that was, kind of the first inklings of something not being right. And then, going to college, after being homeschooled my entire life, I went to college when I was 17, and that kind of expanded my world a little bit. Expanded my experiences, the kind of people I was meeting.
Right.
And the day that I started college, I immediately fell in with this group of Christian kids, and we all went to the campus Bible study and all that stuff together. So I was still trying to, protect myself from the worldly influences and all that, but
Right.
they were getting through anyway. One example I can think of off the top of my head is just, an example of what I was seeing in the world not matching up with what I had always been told in church was, when they used to preach against homosexuality in my church, what they would always say is that, gay relationships aren't based on love. They're purely based on lust. Only a relationship between a man and a woman can be based on love. That's what I was always told in church. And then, in, spring of 2012, my sophomore year in college, I took this anthropology class as an elective, and there was this gay couple in the class, and I got to kind of observe them just interacting with the rest of us and with each other all through that semester. And I realized, they were just like any other couple I'd ever seen. And their relationship was obviously based on more than lust. They loved each other like any straight couple I'd ever seen. And so that was just kind of there in the back of my head, like, oh, that's not what I've been taught. That's, here's the truth right in front of me, and it doesn't line up with what I've been taught in church.
Right.
And so it was just little things like that just happening where I would notice. And none of the, church leaders that I would talk to, that I would ask these questions, could ever really give me a satisfactory answer. Another one was, we used to hear all of these testimonies from people who would tell us this story about, oh, here's this passion that I had, this thing that I wanted to do with my life. And then God called me to give it up and go do this thing for his glory instead. And the question I had was, well, if God gives us these talents and these passions, how come we never hear stories from people who are saying, hey, here's this passion I have and here's how God helped me use it? And so I asked my youth minister that question one time. I was like, how come we never hear those stories? And he just kind of waffled around the edges of it and didn't give me a straight answer.
Of course.
But the real catalyst for my deconversion was actually the 2016 election. And it would have happened anyway. I was already on my way out of the church, out of that belief system, because I had moved to the big city at that point. I live in Chicago now. So I was already like seeing a more diverse, you know, I was having more diverse experiences, seeing more and more that there was more out there than just what I had been taught in church. And so I was already kind of getting away from that world that I had grown up in. And I think it would have happened anyway. It just would have happened a lot slower, I think a lot more naturally. But during the election season, I would just see these people on, you know, my Facebook timeline, all these like former like youth pastors and Sunday school teachers and all these people that I had looked up to and that I still had some respect for, even if I didn't agree with them on a lot of stuff anymore. All these people were like defending every horrible thing Trump said. And every time Trump would say some new terrible thing, I would think, okay, somebody's got to see now. Surely now they'll see. And I would go on Facebook and they'd still be defending him. And it just, and my parents voted for Trump. I always assumed that, you know, at least my parents had some kind of sense beyond that. But, you know, that was kind of the catalyst for me to start questioning. I wouldn't necessarily say it was a straight line of Trump got elected, so I lost my faith in God. It was, but that was the catalyst for me to like start questioning, okay, if my parents and all these other people that I looked up to, if they can be wrong about this, what else were they wrong about?
Right.
And then I started reading, you know, I went the cliche route and read, you know, Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins and all that.
I got some of the books right down there.
I remember Easter morning, 2017. I watched a Christopher Hitchens debate on YouTube and ate a chocolate bar in the shape of a cross because it felt like the most sacrilegious thing I could do.
Hey, chocolate's chocolate. I don't care how you shape it.
Right?
I'm a chocoholic, so it's all good.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a many a thingsaholic, actually. Speaking of which, I need another sip of my beer. All right. So, what did you think of the Hitchens videos once you saw them?
I did think Hitchens was a little bit over the top. I had an internet friend who is an atheist, and we used to talk about religion back when I still believed. And I mentioned that I was thinking about, you know, looking into some Christopher Hitchens videos or books, and my friend said, "You might not want to start with Hitchens. That would be like me looking into Christianity and starting with Pat Robertson or Jerry Falwell." I think he said, one of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, Hitchens can be pretty punchy in the face kind of guy.
Yeah,
with the stuff he spews out. But
he's very entertaining, though.
Yes, and he's like bang on with almost everything. Like, you listen to him and you're like, "Fuck," you know, I never looked at it from that angle, but that makes perfect sense, right? So
yeah, but I definitely I definitely prefer the style of the atheist YouTubers that I've come across within the last year or so.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, like Rachel Oates, like Telltale, awesome. Mr. Atheist, all those guys.
They're all
Shannon
good people.
Q.
Too. Yeah, my Canadian cohort.
I think I should.
Paula Gia and Vice Rhino and Godless Cranium.
I really want to start a drinking game for every time Shannon Q says sorry on a live stream.
That's not a bad idea because she does it quite a bit. That's actually a brilliant idea. They have one here that they used to do. I think I don't even know if can you see the chat. If you look over to the right, you'll see the option for live chat. I think you can't actually interact with it.
I think I see it. Well, I also have the stream pulled up on my phone, so I can look at the live chat on YouTube from there.
Oh, there you go. Sometimes people throw out questions, so I usually tend to keep my eye see if I see anything. So
okay,
yeah. Yeah, so if you do see something and you want to respond, you'll have to do it over your phone.
Okay.
Because for whatever reason, I don't know, StreamYard doesn't allow anyone but the host to comment.
That's strange. Yeah, I'll just glance at the chat every so often on my phone.
Yeah. And there's a lot of my usuals hanging out there in the chat. But anyway, so when you stumble upon all these atheist YouTubers and you start binge watching these videos, how do you think that helped you out, or do you think
I mean, I think I was pretty well I had pretty well decided that I didn't believe in God anymore by the time I came across a lot of these YouTubers. So really it's just kind of strengthening some of my own beliefs now, and I guess I don't know, I guess I just find it entertaining.
Some of them are, for sure. Especially a lot of the older atheist experience shows where Matt's always like, hey, no. You hear at the end of the outro thing that they do.
Yeah.
That's one of the first batches of things that I came across on atheist YouTube. And I totally fell into the whole atheist YouTube thing literally by accident. And I think one of the first people that I saw was, of course, I think Sam Harris was the first one, and then the Hitchens, the Dawkins, and then all that started sprouting off into Aaron Ra and Dillahunty and Seth Andrews and yada yada. And
I watched the Aaron Ra and Kent Hovind debate last year. It's a classic.
Oh my goodness. Aaron's kind of he's on this kick right now about rocks being atheists, which I think is just hysterical.
That's great.
He raises a point where you think about it, it's like, okay, that's kind of sensible, but I've always been of the camp that if you can't hold a position on anything, then you can't be a theist or an atheist or anything for that matter. So
yeah.
And rocks can't really hold a position on anything, but but if you go by the strict lacking belief thing, then my beer can is an atheist too, because it lacks belief in anything. So it's an atheist, it's an everythingist.
Although I feel like you need sentience to be able to have or lack belief in something. Well,
no, but technically it does lack belief, right? It lacks a brain, so it can't believe anything. So there you go. But but I've been following along the little chats that he's been having, and actually my friend Pine Snake has been involved with that as well. He's in the chat right now too. I'm not of the rocks or atheist camp, but so it just cracks me up when I see Aaron talking about it. I'm like, Jesus, he's convinced himself of this. There, Pine Snake's like, oh, that's been so funny. Yeah, it's. I mean, everything else with Aaron, I think is. I've met the guy, I've drank with the guy, we've had some great times, and everything else with him is great. But just the whole rocks or these things, I just think is hysterical. I was outside having a smoke, and there's a beetle that crawled up on my leg, and that was an atheist too. That actually has a brain, but
there you go.
No concept of deities, at least that we know of. Anyways, there might be little beetle deities. Like Ringo Starr. No, I'm kidding.
I share a birthday with him.
Do you? That's awesome.
July 7th. Also the birthday of John Pertwee, the Third Doctor.
John Pertwee? Oh, nice. The Third Doctor. Look, here we go. We got Whovian smarts going on here, people.
Yeah, I just noticed the TARDIS background a minute ago.
Yes, I do. I have the TARDIS background in there. I figured
that's great.
Help. So, all right. So, when you were in college and you're going were you taking courses that kind of also went against things that you believed?
I mean, I've definitely, well, remember I went to school in Louisiana, so that's, pretty heavily religious, even in secular spaces. But, I definitely remember just everything I read, everything I learned kind of stuck with me in some way, just even if I didn't realize like it was having a direct influence. I think For me, a big part of like, getting away from the conservative ideology that I grew up with was just, I guess, really learning the importance of empathy. And for me, the concept of empathy is just recognizing that nuance exists, recognizing that there are other perspectives out there. And that's what pushed me across the political spectrum. I actually became a liberal before I deconverted. I considered myself a liberal Christian for a year or two.
A liberal Christian.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, then the deconversion followed that. But yeah, I would say college definitely expanded and challenged my beliefs, although I didn't really necessarily recognize it while it was happening.
Right. And I hear that actually quite often with people that were believers and end up in, a non-religious type college that they end up going into, and they'll take something like biochemistry or something like that. And they'll be like, and all this shit that I started learning was like totally against what I had been taught. Many of them were homeschooled as well, right?
Yeah.
So
I didn't take any science course that I didn't have to, but it wasn't because I was afraid of evil science or anything like that. It was just I'm not good at it. I'm a writer. I have a creative mind. I don't do science and mathematics that well.
Right.
Although I do blame my my inability to grasp science on my Christian upbringing and my homeschool curriculum, because the science books that I studied from in middle school were these books written by this creation scientist called Jay Weil. Have you ever heard of him, Dr. Jay Weil?
I've heard the name. I'm not really familiar.
He wrote these textbooks called like Exploring Creation with General Science, with Physical Science, with all that. And a lot of what he would do was like explain these really complex things about, the building blocks of, atoms and complex strings of like DNA or whatever. And his conclusion was always that this couldn't have happened by accident, so it's therefore evidence of design. And I feel like a lot of what he was writing was probably disingenuous. Was probably twisting facts to get to the conclusion he wanted. So because of that, I can't trust any scientific knowledge I have because it all came from those books. Even if 90% of it was solid, I can't trust it. I don't know what was real and what was disingenuous.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I have a very shaky scientific foundation, and because of that, I'm not that good at science.
Yeah, no worries. There's plenty of people out there that can always update you on any information that you need to know, like especially like with the COVID stuff and whatnot. But,
yeah.
Agnostic pagan mom wanted to know something. She's pleading with me, but ask her what she thinks about DD. I'm not sure what you mean by DD.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Would that be Darth Dawkins, who's a internet troll creationist?
No idea.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. I think there was something else in there too. Hang on. Oh, yeah, I already asked that one. Sorry, Pine Snake. Which was this one here? Did Jennifer intentionally take courses that challenged their beliefs? So,
yeah, not intentionally, but it definitely happened.
Right. That seems to always kind of happen, I think, in college anyways.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I've spoken to on my show mentioned that during their college years, a lot of these things started happening because if you were like stuck in a Christian community or believing community, and then you end up in some form of a secular university or college or whatever, you just get inundated with all this information that you just never knew before because it was kept from you, or not necessarily kept from you, but you were never exposed to it.
You weren't encouraged to seek it out.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Do you think you fell into that a little bit?
What do you mean? Fell into what? Sorry, I was not sure which part of that question comes from.
Do you fall into that category where the secularism of these colleges and stuff like that kind of stole what you were taught in homeschooling and in your community from previous?
Yeah, I would say so. Although for me, I think the bigger influence was, like I said, when I moved to the city and Also, just all of the stories that I've ever loved just growing up, and all of the books I read, all the TV shows I watched. Because for me, any story that I read or watch is about, I want it to challenge me in some way. I want it to make me think of something that I haven't thought of before.
Right.
So, I always allowed the stories I was into to challenge my perspective and challenge my beliefs. And I think overall that had a big impact on, making me a more empathetic person, I think, making me more open to other viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were always worried that all those TV shows were going to corrupt me, and I guess they weren't wrong.
Yeah, but it's okay. Ultimately, it's corruption in a good way.
Hollywood turned me into a liberal, just like everybody was afraid of.
Yeah. Pine Snake made a good point there. She may have been talking about D&D, like
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons, yeah.
I've never played. I'm roughly familiar with how it works, but I've never played.
Oh, you've never? I played.
It sounds like fun.
Years ago, I played the original D&D, and then a buddy of mine bought a system called GURPS, which is Generic Universal Role Playing System. And you can be any character from any role-playing universe you wanted to be, or from any fictional world you wanted to be. So I ended up being Wolverine.
Nice.
But of course, in D&D fashion, I had to start out with like bone claws. And then when I saw the movie, I was like, whoa, shit, look at that. And you had the bone claws in there, and you have to earn your way up to the adamantiums, right? So.
Yeah, I think my friends dragged me to see some of the Wolverine movies when we were in college. I was never that into the X-Men. I liked the other Marvel movies, the Iron Man and Avengers and all that, but I never really got into X-Men. But I always went with my friends to whatever movies they wanted to see.
Yeah, sure, why not? I mean,
they
it's
were
still
fun. They were enjoyable.
See, I was a big X-Men comic book reader from issue 1 on. I was on all over that shit.
There's a at the doggy daycare I work at. There's a dog named Xavier. I call him Professor X.
Really?
And he has a superhero collar, but it's not X-Men. It's like Superman or something.
Oh, wow! You think they'd be onto that? You think
Right?
they'd realize that they should put the X with the circle around it all over that collar rather than the Superman logo?
That's how I feel.
Yeah, should maybe want to mention that to the owner.
See, I work in the back. I'm mostly with the dogs. I don't really have much interaction with the clients.
So you're just like covered in floofs all day?
Yes.
It's epic. Why can't I have a job like that? No, I got to work with like acid and stuff and end up with fucking acid burns all over my arm and shit.
Oh, shit. Yeah, dude, I've worked at doggy daycares for like 4 years now. It's great. Here, I want to show you this picture from the other day. That's me with a corgi laying on me.
Aww. That's awesome. See, that'd be a job you could pay me like $4 an hour, and I'd do that job. Right? I don't even care because of all the animals.
Yeah.
People look at me funny because I used to raise tarantulas.
Oh, that's cool. When I was
they're furry.
When I was 15, I went to this church camp. And this one kid there from another group had brought his pet tarantula with him, and he was letting people hold it. And like nobody else wanted to hold it or touch it. And I was like, I'll hold it.
Awesome.
So I got to hold a pet tarantula. His name was Napoleon.
Awesome.
And
what
kid
kept. What kind it was?
I don't know. The kid kept getting annoyed though because everybody assumed it was named after Napoleon Dynamite. He was like, no, it's named after Napoleon from history.
Yeah, Napoleon Bonaparte.
Yeah. Oh, there's also a dog at work named Napoleon. He's a pug.
Is he?
Yeah.
There's a couple that lives down the hall from me. They have a pug there, and he's fucking hilarious.
Oh, pugs are really funny. There's this super tiny one at work named Helga. She's so tiny. I've never seen a pug that small before.
The toy pugs. I think they're a fairly new offshoot of them.
Yeah, those toy breeds
wants everything tiny.
Those toy breeds are like a really bad idea genetically because they're going to have so many issues.
Oh yes. Well, even pugs have issues already as it is. Breathing and hip issues, right?
Oh, yeah. Any of those brachiocephalic breeds have any of those brachycephalic breeds have trouble breathing. The
Yep.
smush face dogs like pugs, French bulldogs, all that.
Lhasa Apso, Shih Tzu, you name it.
Yeah, yep.
My mom used to have Lhasa Apsos when we were growing up, and they're funny little dogs too.
You know
They're
what's funny?
Furry.
You know what's funny is I'm really good at identifying dog breeds and like breed mixes. I can look at a dog and be like, oh, they've got some of this and some of this in there. When it comes to the little fluffy dogs like Lhasa Apsos, Maltese, Havanese, Shih Tzus, when it comes to all those little white fluffy dogs, I always get it wrong. I cannot tell those guys apart.
Just call them fur-covered footballs. How did you end up getting into doing the dog thing?
Okay, let's see. A few years ago, I needed a job. I'm not that good at job hunting. And it was kind of dire because my rent was due soon. So I was like, okay, I was just thinking, okay, what's something I like? I like dogs. And a couple years, like a year and a half earlier, I had had an interview at a doggy daycare when I came across like an ad on Craigslist. So I thought, hey, I should look into that again. So I looked on Google Maps. I didn't realize what a big industry it was until I looked on Google Maps and saw that there's like 40 doggy daycares just in the city of Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
So I just made a list of all of them and went through the list calling and asking for a job. And I got a couple interviews and I got a job offer. And so for the next couple of years, every time I've needed a job, I just do that. I just go through the list of doggy daycares and call all of them. And every time I've done that, I've had a job offer within 2 weeks. So it's just something I've stuck with because, you know, I want to be a television writer, but that's not an easy industry to get into. And I got to pay bills in the meantime. And I'd rather do something I enjoy, like spend time with dogs, rather than work some soul-sucking retail job.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Or something where I'm going to get acid burns.
That's chemistry. That's what I do. But definitely working with dogs beats the, like you said, beats the soul-sucking public service industry. And I mean, shit, like I said, if I could do that, and actually, it's tough because I'd love to do a job like that where I work with animals, especially dogs.
Yeah.
I'd love to, but there's no chance in hell they could pay me what I get paid to do what I do now.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Right,
Yeah, what was I going to say?
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Apparently I don't sleep enough.
I was going to say, if I were to work with dogs as a career, I wouldn't want to just stay in, you know, daycares my whole life because there's no real room for advancement there unless you want to become a manager or something. And I don't want to be a manager. If I was going to work with dogs for a career, I would either want to be like a trainer or I would want to work with one of those programs that like helps like rehabilitate abused and neglected dogs. Because I saw a documentary about that on Netflix once that actually showed like the progress that these dogs made. And I thought, you know, that'd be really cool to be a part of something like that.
That's awesome. Jesus Wizard Spatula, which is the hilarious name all in itself. If you were a Christian again, you could drink that acid and it wouldn't even hurt you. Just follow Mark's gospel.
Throw in a rattlesnake bite and it's a real party.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh, hey, Drag. Oh, you finally got a notification on time. Yeah, apparently there's been issues with the whole hit the bell thing so you get all the notifications because they don't always come through.
Uh-huh.
And Drag was telling me before that he got one, as he mentioned there, 6 days late. It's like, I still get shit like that. I go, oh, hey, look, a new so-and-so video. And I realize it's from like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what's up, YouTube? And Dallas' sister grooms dogs. There you go. You ever think of that?
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, we have groomers at the place I work, but I'm not really interested in that aspect of it.
No, just want to play with them.
Yeah, I like being in the room with the dogs, playing with them. I actually just recently completed a project I've been working on for several months. I built a Lego doggy daycare.
Nice.
It's sitting right next to me, right out of the view of the camera right now. But I posted pictures of it on our work app, Slack, and everybody's really impressed with it. And I just talked to the boss this morning. They're going to let me display it in the lobby.
No way. Awesome.
Yeah, let me see if I can pick this up and show you.
So that's actually like looks like the one where you work?
Some of the interior is based on the place I work, but largely this was just designed to fit on the base plate. It borrowed some elements from a few places I've worked, but
There you go.
it's largely an original design. But yeah, this took me several months and several Lego orders.
Oh yeah. I've got a little bit of Lego left. I had literally cases of that shit when I was a kid.
I love Legos. If I had room, if I had more shelves, I would have so many more Lego sets. I already have ones that I don't really have a place for.
Have you seen all the Doctor Who ones?
I have seen the Doctor Who one, yeah.
The Dimensions, as they call it, or whatever.
Yeah, I've seen that one. I've thought about buying it.
My friend Glass Monster says I have 400 kilos of Lego.
Send them my way.
Yeah, no kidding. Donations. She takes donations, so
Yeah, never mind PayPal. Just send me Legos.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember being a kid and wanting to have a job where I could work in Lego and just build things all day. And
oh, that'd be fantastic.
That never came to fruition. I'm like, Mom, I want to work at Legoland. You know, Legoland's in Europe, right? I'm like, I don't care. I want to work at Legoland.
And then just the other day, one of my friends at work was talking about how she misses being able to go to bars. Oh, thank you, Mark Caesar. She misses being able to go to bars and go out drinking. She hasn't been able to do that since March. And she said, "Hey, Jennifer, you got to build me a bar out of Legos." And I was like, "I can do that." And she was just joking. That. Oh, you saw that on your
timeline? Yeah,
on my bar. Yeah, I actually. You checked out my Tumblr?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So I just went home that night and just built it out of the spare pieces I had. And then gave it to her a couple of days later.
You know what it reminded me of, honestly? I'm not sure if you're familiar with a Britcom show called Mrs. Brown's Boys. It's very funny. It reminds me of the little pub that they go to on that show. It's a little brighter than the one on the show, but it kind of has the same layout. A couple little tables and then the bar right there off to the side.
That's funny.
That's the first thing that jumped in my mind when I saw that.
That's hilarious. Cool. I just built it. I wanted to have the bar and a little pool table and a little table people could sit at, and I would just and then put some stickers on the wall to make it look, more like a bar.
Oh, and as to Glass sending you Lego, there's your answer.
Yeah, no, that shit's expensive. You got to hang on to that stuff.
It is.
Dude, every time I go to the Lego store, there's this one at this multi-story mall in downtown Chicago. There's this one Lego store. Every time I go there, I always drool over the big sets that are $200 each.
Yeah.
They're thousands of pieces. There's a roller coaster and a pirate ship and a treehouse.
The pirate ship's awesome.
And the Star Wars ones, the Death Star and the Millennium Falcon.
I got the Millennium Falcon.
Oh,
I got Boba Fett's ship, yeah.
Oh, man, I'm jealous.
But I have the original ones that came out in the 90s, not the new ones.
Oh, yeah, I think the new ones are, huge.
Well, this one's, when you put it together, it's big. It's fairly big. And it's got the little Han Solo and Chewie and Luke and everybody.
Oh, nice.
It comes with it. And then I had to have the slave ship, too. And my buddy bought the Pod Racer set, and he bought an X-Wing, I think, and way back when they first came out. Yeah, and I love the Death Star one is really cool.
Yeah.
And it's massive. It's 2,000 some plus pieces, I think.
The Star Destroyer is really big, too.
Yeah. Yeah, but I watched Rachel Oates, actually, and I asked her where she got it. And she
her Lunar Lander live stream?
Yeah, the Lunar Lander live
5-hour stream. I was on that, too.
Yeah. Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Hey, Pastor Mike. Yeah. It was fun. I came in, I think, probably a couple hours after she started because I had no idea. I was probably at work or something, and I'm like, oh shit, she's building and I looked it up. It's expensive. Yeah,
she said she shelled out a little money for that one. I think that's why she decided to do the live stream for it.
Oh hell yeah! Try and make some money back with the super chats, right? I'm working on getting my. See, I had an old channel where it was a gaming channel. The card game Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. It's very similar to Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Never played it, but I know what it is.
Yeah, I still play it to this day. But and actually, Jimmy or Dear Mr. Atheist, he plays too, and he's looking for cards. I'm like, dude, I got all those cards, so I shipped them out. He's like, yay! Right? So he wants to play me now on not Duel Links, but there's another online version of the game you can play. So I'm trying to put together a deck or a couple of decks that I could use on there and play them. But yeah, when we meet up in real life, I'll have a couple of my better decks with me, and we'll go head to head.
Oh, nice.
Once I get down there.
Something to look forward to when COVID is over.
Yeah.
If it's ever over in the States.
Well, the pandemic will come down eventually, but it'll still be a virus that'll be with us forever now. So.
Yeah, that's fun.
So,
I was disappointed Faithless Forum was canceled this year. I was actually going to try to save up and go there so I could meet some of you guys in real life.
Yeah, I was supposed to be a speaker this year, or one of the panelists anyways. But I'll be on the panel again. Well, not again, because that has to happen once before I can say again. But I'll still on the panel for when they rebooted it for next year.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to make it out there next year. I've got a cousin that lives in the Austin area, so I might see if I can stay with her, save money on a hotel.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, realistically, I know tons of people down there, and finding a place to stay would be really easy. So, yeah, it won't be hard. If you've got a cousin, that's even better for you, right?
Yeah.
So somebody that at least you know you're going to get a yes from. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Wait, hold it. Is your cousin a believer?
Actually, she's like my one liberal cousin on that side of the family.
Okay.
She went to prison back in the day, and so she became like really, really invested in like prison reform.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess through that, she, I don't know if that was the reason she became a liberal, but I would assume that's part of it.
Okay. But so you're saying she's liberal, but still a believer?
I don't actually know if she is a believer. I have no idea. I don't really talk to her that much. We're Facebook friends, so I see her updates, but she usually just posts about her family and like political stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, many people do that on Facebook now. I don't really use Facebook much anymore these days.
Yeah.
I'm usually on Twitter more so than anything.
I tried being on Twitter last summer. I tried being like really involved, and it just made me too angry. Seeing all the horrible things Republicans are doing, it made me too angry.
I know. You just kind of got to go zen or something, and then move on to some other conversation where at least you know you're going to be okay.
I was following along in the primaries for a while because I was a big Pete Buttigieg supporter when he was running. So I followed like him and Chastain on Twitter.
Should have had a question. Oh, right. Of course. It's one of my usual standard questions that I generally always ask. So what about your family? Like your family and friends that are still believers, do they know about you sort of walking away from all of this?
My parents do, because I finally told my mom like a year and a half ago. We were talking on the phone, and it was like just trying to hold a conversation with someone who makes everything about God is really difficult when she doesn't know that you don't believe anymore. So finally, I just broke down and told her, because I just didn't really care that much anymore, whether or not I didn't care enough to like try to keep it a secret. And then I think my parents have told some of the people in their Sunday school class. So I guess some people from my old church know, but like, I don't really talk about it like on Facebook. Like I haven't explicitly come out on Facebook and said, hey, I don't believe in God anymore.
Right.
But some people might have more or less figured that out by now.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure your folks probably have told multiple people in your family, I would assume.
They, I think they actually didn't tell my grandparents, my dad's parents, because my grandmother is very controlling, very nitpicky. So my mom told me that in a later phone call a few weeks later, my mom told me that, we haven't told she was like, we haven't told Grandma and Papa because your dad pointed out that if we told them, Grandma would probably call you and chew you out directly. And I was like, I know their number. If I see it on my phone, I'm just not going to answer it.
Yeah, exactly. You do know that that's a thing now, right, Mom? Yeah, it's I mean, and I get it because they probably feel like, oh no, she's fallen away from the faith. I need to save her again. That
Yep.
kind of thing, right? So, and I get that. It's funny because you often hear people that find their way out, that they feel like they were lied to.
Yeah.
The only thing the issue I have with that is people don't realize that what they're telling you is a lie.
Yeah. To them, it's the truth.
Yeah, right. Because they were, taught about this stuff by people that they trusted.
Yeah.
Right. So, for all they know, it's the literal truth. And it can be tough because sometimes people, when they find out, like somebody finally says, "Hey, listen, this is actually the way it is," and they just like their little heads explode and they go, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. Also,
they
it's
feel
like.
betrayed.
Also, it's like, for me, when I went through therapy, last year, kind of working on some of my own issues also kind of helped me understand my parents' issues a lot more. And so, like, I can look at the way they were raised, the issues that they have that they've never dealt with because Christian baby boomers don't deal with their issues. I can look at that and I can like understand why religion is so appealing to them and why they are as heavily into it as they are.
Sure.
And I can't really share details because it's not really my stuff to share. It's theirs. But like I can, I can look at that and say, okay, I understand why they're like this. I get it.
Yep.
I understand that it doesn't come from a place of malice or intentionally deceiving or anything like that.
Sure. Yeah, but
And
I mean,
I have definitely recently had to come to grips with the fact that this is always going to be something that we disagree on, that they're never going to deconvert and I'm never going to go back to being a Christian, and they're probably going to spend the rest of their lives believing that I'm going to hell, and I can't do anything about that, and it's not my job to convince them otherwise.
A friend of mine talked to exactly about this sort of topic where you're saying, how they have to deal with this fact, in quotations clearly, that you're going to be going to hell. And he said, well, how do you feel about that? Like with his mother. It's like, well, how do you feel? Are you going to be up there in heaven knowing that I'm burning in hell? How is that supposed to be heaven if you're up there knowing that your son is now burning in hell?
Yeah.
It's a dilemma that they can't come to grips with.
There's a lot of things like that I would like to question my parents on and challenge their beliefs. And I do imagine a lot of those conversations and how they would play out. But the truth is we're never going to have most of those conversations. And, right. Like I said, I feel like it's not my job to try to get them to deconvert.
No, of course not. Usually things will be said or happen in, like, now that you're out, there may be conversations where it might tweak them a little bit and they might think, well, shit, whatever it is, I never thought about that perspective or whatever. And they might do a little digging because, I think the best thing that I think religions did was tell people not to question.
Yeah.
Just, you got to have faith, you got to have the trust and all that, and don't question the authority. And a lot of people go, oh, okay. But eventually, especially if there's people around them that don't believe the same things that they do, and they start filling their heads with all this other information, then they start actually doing a little bit of research, and then those questions just naturally start coming.
Yeah.
And to you.
The last time I challenged my mom on a religious topic, her response was basically, she said something like, well, when issues like that come up, I tend to assume that it's a flaw in my own ability to understand rather than a flaw in the Bible. And like, that's just her immediate method of dealing with things that are contrary to her beliefs. And how do you reason with that?
Well, Yeah, I don't know, because they're taught that they're flawed from the get-go.
Yeah, that's
Right?
a huge issue that I had with religion even before I left, was that it teaches you that, you're this terrible, horrible person who, you know, is wrong all the time and doesn't deserve anything, and you should be grateful that God even bothers to glance your way.
Thanks, Jen. Another gem right there, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, easy on the until I get the account settled, which I was talking about a little bit about earlier. So my old AdSense, I guess, account is on my old channel. So I'm in the middle right now with Google of switching it over to this channel. So because I keep getting emails, you already have an AdSense account. but none of this stuff goes to it, and they're sitting on. I'm literally like just under $400 that they're holding until I get things settled. So
that makes the super chats complicated.
Yeah, they'll hold them until everything's settled, and then they'll give me a payout, I guess.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
That's Google. What do you do? All the red taping and dancing shit you got to do.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I'll do whatever I got to do. And you know how you're talking about Hitchens was one of the first YouTube atheists that you saw. Did you ever see the Four Horsemen video?
Yeah, I watched that one.
I just got the book, which is basically a transcript of their entire conversation right here.
Oh, cool.
Really, and it's hardcover. I was like, I always love when I get hardcovers.
Yeah,
literally, it's a transcript of their conversation.
Yeah, a couple years ago, my my grandmother sent me a birthday card that included this handwritten note where she encouraged me to find a church and stay away from liberals because they're losing the fight and they don't even know it. And there was some cash in the envelope in the card. There was like $25. So I went to Barnes and Noble and used that cash to buy The God Delusion and God Is Not Great. Could have bought them for cheaper on Amazon, but it wasn't satisfying to just spend the money digitally. I wanted to hand over that exact cash from my grandparents.
Right. I have both of those right here. God Delusion. My stack of books is getting bigger, but there's 2 stacks of books now, actually. A lot of stuff I've had for a while now, but I started stockpiling a lot of atheist books and stuff like that. One of the best ones I've read just recently, or listened to and read, is this one by John W. Loftus, Why I Became an Atheist.
I think I've heard of that one.
Fucking phenomenal book. And of course, Sean Carroll, the physicist or cosmologist or whatever you want to call him, astrophysicist, The Big Picture, which is really good. And it touches on religion and how they view the universe as opposed to what it's really like.
Yeah. Oh, we're I think I was talking earlier about kind of how my deconversion happened in stages. And one of those stages, and I spent a lot of 2016 finding books that were written by people who were still believers, but they weren't fundamentalists anymore. They weren't, deeply into the evangelical culture. I was finding these books about I Fired God by Jocelyn Ziermann. She was raised in you've heard of that one?
Mm-hmm.
She was raised in a really fundamentalist home, deeply isolated, really badly abused. She got out of it, and now she helps other people get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's When We Were on Fire by Addie Ziermann. It talks about kind of the evangelical culture of America in the 1990s, and how she became disillusioned with that. And she's still a believer. She actually, didn't fully walk away from the faith, but I still really like reading her books because she's a phenomenal writer. She has a beautiful writing style. Great. And she makes a lot of good points. She has some really good insights. But that was a lot of what I did in 2016 was reading books about people who got out of extremism, whether or not they left the faith completely.
Yeah, and they don't always.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes a long time. Like with John Loftus, it took him a while to get out. And Bart Ehrman is another one who eventually found his way out. But when he started writing about the topics that he actually still writes about, he was still in it. He was still a bit of a believer. But eventually he found his way out.
Oh, Jesus Wizard Specialist made a really good analogy here. Said, once you get out, it's like knowing 2 languages.
Yes. I was going to point that out earlier.
That is an excellent way to phrase it, because I definitely still know how to speak Christianese. You know what's funny is I can read like a blog post or Facebook post or whatever that was made by, you know, like someone who's a Christian, but maybe they're trying to downplay the religiosity so they don't scare people off. And I can still see it in the language. I can still see, oh, this person believes this, and they're trying to soften it so it doesn't seem as bad as it is.
Right.
So I definitely like that. I definitely like that, comparing it to knowing 2 languages.
Yeah, me too. And I meant to actually point that out, and we got onto something else, and I think it distracted me. So sorry about that, Jesus Wizard Special. How the fuck did you come up with that name? I want to know.
That's amazing.
Because that's awesome. And my good friend Roy Herbert has finally joined the herd. And he's wondering what's happened to my hair. Well, it's 150 gazillion degrees here. And it's fucking, I live by the water, so there's a lot of moisture in the air. So my hair tends to get a little poofy after a while. What
part of Canada do you live in?
I'm in Vancouver, West Coast.
Oh, cool.
West Coast? I don't know how the fuck it is or anything. I don't know signs and shit like that.
Yeah, we've been having really nice weather here all week, which is unusual for August. It feels like October outside.
Really?
It was like
it's kind of toned down a little.
It was like 57 degrees this morning. That's Fahrenheit, by the way.
I know. Which is fair.
I know.
Which is
I know the U.S. is like the only place in the world that actually uses Fahrenheit.
Well, one of 3 left.
But yeah,
the other
it's
2
been
countries are not nice countries, so you guys need to jump off of that shit.
It's been really cool all week, and it's like I like the fall weather, but really nice days in August make me suspicious. I can't fully enjoy them because it's like, is this going to last? Are we just getting autumn early, or are we going to go back to 90-degree weather next week? What's going on here?
90 degree. That's what we're getting right now. We're having a heat wave up here.
Yeah.
In the valley here, it got to almost 43 degrees, which I think 43 degrees Celsius, which I think is 100 and
yeah, that's really high.
Fucking 120, something like that, I think. And it's like, what?
Yikes.
That's hot where you can walk outside and crack an egg on the fucking. But that's climate change too. That's why shit's changing all over them. And
dude, when I was a kid, I kept hearing that expression, you can fry an egg on the sidewalk. So this one time in the summer, I was like, I want to actually try that and see if it's possible. So my dad let me do it. He let me take an egg outside and fry it on the driveway, but as long as I cleaned it up afterwards.
Yes, of course.
It actually did cook.
Yep, I've done it too a couple of times. And it's really easy to clean up. You just whip out the hose.
Yeah, I just got the water hose. And
into the gutter. Bye. Fishes will like that.
Yeah.
Fishes. It's fish. Fish is plural. Anyway, but yeah. Well, we're getting close to the top of the hour here. So what do you say we pick up this conversation with a few extra people that can jump in with us?
Sounds good. The after party, right?
Yeah, after party, yes. And I've been told by a few people now that apparently they're legendary. I'm like, what? Why? It's nothing but.
Well, I think you're the only person who does that in the atheist community. I think you're the only person who does that.
Nope, there's others that do, but.
Well, I only follow a few atheist YouTubers, so I'm not the best person to ask. You're the only one I've seen who does it.
Oh, okay. I like doing it because it gives the opportunity for whomever I'm speaking with to get to know a little bit more of the people in the community, right? Because that's kind of what this show is. I deal with folks. I sound like I'm some sort of a broker or something. I deal with, or I often speak with people that are not so familiar with the fact that there are lots of other people in the community and that there is a community, albeit broken a lot of the times, but there is a community out there.
Yeah.
Of course, you can join the after party, Jen.
Oh, yeah. But before we sign off, we were going to talk about, or before we switch over to that, we were going to talk about how I want to be a writer.
Yes, and getting into the whole TV thing, and we still got at least 6 minutes here. So
okay, yeah. I've always been a writer. I've always, been coming up with story ideas ever since I was a kid. I don't think I realized it was what I wanted to do for a career until I was about 18. And then I realized, oh, I want to write TV shows. So that's been my goal ever since then, but I have no idea how to get into that industry. But yeah, I have ideas for TV shows that I've been working on for years. And for me, it's just that, like we were talking about earlier, all the stories that I grew up with helped shape my perspective and kind of push me away from the ideology that I was raised with. And I want my stories to have that same kind of impact on other people. That's really my biggest goal as a writer.
Yeah, for sure. I think anyone that wants to get into that industry would probably agree with you. They want to have an impact on people, for sure. So there's already quite a few folks that want to jump in. So,
all right, let's do it.
All right. Now you're saying that you don't really know how to go about it. Well, you and I should probably talk outside of this, and because I have family members that are in the industry here in Vancouver, because Vancouver is.
Oh yeah, that's a big.
All the fucking DC
area.
shows on CW and like Supernatural, the Flash, Arrow. Well, Arrow's
yeah, that's all filmed in Vancouver.
All filmed here in Vancouver. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah! I would love to make some connections.
I actually see the Supernatural boys around town quite often.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're usually all over the place. I've seen Vancouver's pretty popular for that kind of thing, I think, because not constantly, I think it's probably been about a half a dozen times that I've seen Tommy Chong, who lives here in Vancouver part-time, and he's always at Sophie's Cosmic Cafe, and I always walk by and I see him in there and I'm like, hey, and he goes, hey. It became a thing, I guess.
We've got a couple of celebrities in Chicago, but we've got more music celebrities here. We've got like Chance the Rapper lives here. When I worked at this one doggy daycare a couple of years ago, we actually I was on the bus. We had a driver and a runner on the bus, so we would go out around town and like pick up the dogs to bring them to daycare. And I was the runner, so I would go up into these, fancy ass apartments to get these dogs from these rich people's houses. We actually had one or two clients in the building that Chance the Rapper lives in.
Pretty cool.
I never met him because I never saw him around, but like that was cool. That's my 6 degrees of separation from a celebrity. Also, when Dwayne Wade was playing basketball for the Chicago Bulls, he sent his dogs to another daycare that I worked at. Sweet. Again, never met him. Loved his dogs. They were fantastic. I have one great story before we sign off. So this one time when I was starting work at this one daycare, I was supposed to shadow some of the other employees to like learn all of the positions. So I'm shadowing one of the dog walkers one day, and we go into this building and we're in the elevator, and this older gentleman gets on with us, and he's got his golden lab with him. I guess they had just taken a walk or something. So I'm not really paying much attention to the owner. I'm kneeling down, petting the dog, getting doggy kisses, all that. I only spoke to the owner to ask the dog's name. It was Lily. So I'm petting Lily, kind of ignoring the owner. Me and the dog walker, Nick, get off the elevator. We're walking down the hall. Nick nods over his shoulder, and he says, "Hey, do you know who that was?" And I said, "No, who was it?" Turns out I ignored the governor of Illinois in favor of petting his dog.
And rightly so.
Yeah, it was Bruce Rauner. I don't like that guy, so I don't care.
I've heard of him. Yeah, I dated a girl when I lived in Israel on a kibbutz kafar, actually. Okay, guys, stop sending super chats. I'm not going to see them, so stop. Yes, I'll send you a link. Don't worry. Fuck, what was I talking about? Anyways, she lives in Chicago. She worked on radio stations and stuff like that afterwards, of course. But
well, my were you still in the middle of a story?
No, I'm just saying.
Okay, you were just saying
that's
that.
my
okay.
Chicago connection.
Okay, yeah, my boss at my current job, at the current doggy daycare I work at, he actually spent like 25 years in television. So I talked to him, but he was on he's a journalist. He was on the news side. He was a broadcaster, I think. So he told me, he didn't really have any connections on the fiction writing side. He was actually going to reach out to some of his old contacts, but that was right before the pandemic hit and everything got shut down.
Yeah, you can
So
still reach out.
Yeah.
You still have video calls like this. You can
Yeah.
still do that, right? I'll do some digging and I'll get back to you and see if there's anyone that, like my cousins that are in the industry, but they're in the, like my cousin Darren runs the transportation, and I got a friend he's the head of security for all the area, right? But they know people, right?
Yeah,
So I might be able to find something.
It's all about
that I may
making
be able to
connections. That's how you get into this industry. It's all about making connections.
Actually, somewhere around here, I have Stargate. You remember the show Stargate? They filmed that here in Vancouver too. And I have one of the scripts from Stargate. As a buddy of mine was an extra on one of the shows, and he kept a script for me. He goes, "Here you go. Here's an official Stargate script."
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I have no way of proving that's because anyone can make photocopies. You know what I mean? But he was an extra, and I could point out the episode that he was on. His name was Russell. He passed away, unfortunately. Actually, he was murdered, but that's okay.
Shit.
Well, I mean, that's not okay, but yes, he was murdered.
Yeah.
He was into some druggy type things, I guess you could say, and ultimately, it caught up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we weren't like super close, but we hung out quite a bit.
Yeah.
And he grabbed me because he knew I was a big Stargate fan, at least at the time, anyways. And he grabbed me a script from it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's like literally right there. But as most people will tell you, generally everything I talk about is usually within reach. So unless it's like too far and I don't want to reach all the way over there. But I'm so used to having headphones that have a cable. Mm-hmm. But these are Bluetooths, right? They're skull candies. So
I had some Bluetooth headphones that were like red and gold, and they had like an Iron Man
sweet
logo on the case, on the holder. I paid like $40 for them at Barnes and Noble, and I used them like all the time, and they finally started to wear out. Like they crackle when I try to listen to them now.
Yeah, they don't last forever. And Ian, my friend Ian's like, too many euphemisms about stroking the puppy. But I just got something in the mail recently. I'm not sure if you're familiar with my profile and some of the stuff I do behind the scenes. I'm a blood donor, and
cool.
I have a Partners for Life group with Canadian Blood Services, where I'm able to recruit people in, and every time some people go in, we get the donation counts towards our group as a big donation. And we've had numbers that are in the 400 to 500 to 600 range.
That's awesome.
Every year, which has never, ever been done by a single person starting a group in Canadian history ever.
That's fantastic.
So I'm pretty proud of that. And I just got this from Canadian Blood Services right here, where it says, "Our heartfelt thanks." Just got this the other day. "We are grateful for donors like you." Neil Ronald is my middle name. And I used to own a pair of cherry red Docs. So my buddies started, every time they see me coming down the hallway, "You always got a friend wearing big red shoes." They'd start singing that as I was coming down the hallway. Because Ronald McDonald. But anyway, you've kept your commitment time and time again to ensure patients in your community and across Canada have access to life-saving blood when and where they need it. Even during this global pandemic, you've courageously answered the call to help save lives in support of Canada's lifeline. You are truly remarkable, and for that we thank you. Together, we are Canada's lifeline. So, yep, I've done it now twice during the pandemic, but they make you wear. They actually gave me. I forgot my mask at the time. I thought I had it in I have a little cubby hole thing in the front of my car. I can just push a button, it pops open. Mm-hmm. I said, "Shit, I left it at work." And they're like, "Oh, well, don't worry. We've got some that people have made them for us." And of course, they're red, right?
Nice.
So you get the little red one, and you wear them in there. And I'll now, this is my official blood donation. I'm actually thinking of taking a Jiffy marker or something and write on it, "It's in you to give," or something like that on there, right? So,
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I think I might do that.
I heard
that's the one they gave me.
I read somewhere that one of the European countries, I think it might be Sweden, has a thing where when you donate blood, you get a text message when the blood that you donated saves someone's life.
I do. I get them.
They do that in Canada
Sweden.
too?
Yeah, they do that. You know why?
I don't think they do that here in the States. That's awesome.
The reason they started doing it is because because of what I've accomplished and what I've achieved doing this blood donation thing. When I first found out that they were doing that in Sweden, I was like, "Have you guys seen this?" And I showed them the ad for the whole getting text thing. She goes, yeah. And actually, we've kind of been talking about it, but now that I've seen you've shown us this, I think that would be a really great idea. So thanks for giving us that extra push. And then all of a sudden, texts has started coming out.
That's great.
So I think I may have pushed them over the fence on that with the whole yelling and screaming at the blood clinic about it going on and stuff like that. So yeah. So now I get texts like your blood is now on the way to save a life or whatever.
That's fantastic.
Of course, it's a fairly generic text, but and people are always, when I first posted it, they're like, "Oh yeah, well, how do you know?" I'm like, "Well, I don't." But
like confidentiality, they can't give you more details than that,
right? Like, why would they send me that and not have it on the way to somewhere that's going to be using it within the next day or so? Because blood only has a certain amount of lifetime on the shelf. But anyway, we've gone over time, which happens a lot, so it's okay. But Jennifer, it's great to chat with you.
Yeah, you too. This was fun. Yeah,
it's a lot. I told you it'd be a lot of fun. And wait till the after party. It just gets even weirder. But yeah, we're going to do that. So I already know that a few people already would like to hop in and say hi. So we got Dallas Wade will probably popping in, my friend Glass Monster. Maybe Rory. Rory comes in often, but it's pretty late where they are. Including Pine Snake. They're from the same little English country across the pond. So, or British country, I guess supposed to say. Anyway, so yeah, we've got at least a few people that want to jump in. So we'll do that in a few moments. Now, I always take a little bit of a break because, unfortunately, I still smoke. I've quit 3 times in my life for over a year, and I keep going back to it because somebody in the family or a friend or something passes away, and I always break down.
Hey, still, being able to abstain for over a year is pretty impressive, especially if you're a lifelong smoker.
Oh, yeah. I started due to peer pressure in elementary school. I started when I was about 11, I think, or 12. I didn't start inhaling until I probably hit about 15 or 16, I think. I was just doing it because it looked cool.
Because it looked cool.
One was doing it, right?
Yeah, my dad used to smoke when he was a teenager. He actually got busted once for stealing cigarettes.
My friend had a mom she had those little glasses everywhere and she had smokes in them all over the house. So when we ran out, we'd be like, let's pinch a couple from there. And then, of course, I remember the first time we did that, we pinched his mom's smokes and then we're like out back of that. And I'm looking and I go, wait, this is Cameo on it. Cameo is a Canadian brand, but they're menthol. And we're smoking menthol like, oh my God. And then you take the filter off and they're a little less menthol because most of the menthol is actually in the filter, not so much the tobacco. Thanks, Ricardo. It's a fun, rock-solid show. I'm glad you enjoyed it. The after parties are usually even more so. So if you stick around, we'll be going into an after party probably within the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. There's lots of folks that would like to jump in. We got Dallas Wade who's probably going to jump in. We got Pine Snake, and we've got Glass Monster, and more than likely IQ, because I always dump one in my group. So anyone that's in my Neil's Usual Suspects group, which are all people that have been on my show, can always jump in after too. Have a good night, Ricardo. Jesus Wizard, thanks for your entertainment tonight, your awesome name and your funny comments. It was great. Anyways, Jen, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, I'll see you in the after party.
You betcha. And guys, with the whole COVID thing going on right now, by the way, before I get into the whole closing thing, don't forget to check out Jennifer's links below. I've got 2 YouTube channel links there, and her Twitter is there as well. So you can stalk her on Twitter, and you can check out her channel and subscribe if you like what you see. I always recommend that. And don't forget to sub to my channel if you're not already, and hit that little bell icon to get notifications when they're working properly that I'm gone live. And
yeah, I guess I should subscribe to you now that I've been on your show.
You don't have to, but it's always appreciated. You can also help support the show in multiple ways. I've got an Amazon wish list. One of the things I really, but they're cheap, so I might just buy one. It's a little foamy thing for my my Blue Yeti microphone, and of course, a ring light is something else I'm looking at. I bought this little piece of crap LED light that kind of helps, but the ring lights are better, and you can actually dial them brighter or lower. So that's what's really cool, and I can't do that with this. There you go. Dallas Wade just subbed to you, Jennifer. So we're going to have Jen also.
Oh, yeah, I saw that a few minutes ago. I wanted to shout that out and say thanks.
Dallas is good people. He's got that deep, sexy voice going on. It's like if you had me and Dallas and Seth Anders in a room, we might accidentally put people to sleep. That's what a lot of people said when they saw my interview with Seth Anders. It was like, oh, it's like watching this thing, and then they just lull you into a sleepy mode. Right? It's like so, anyway, guys, with the whole COVID thing, remember to be safe and be well, and above all, be kind, which we're not seeing a lot of these days, especially down there in the U.S. You people are setting a bad example to the rest of the world. Get it?
Yeah, I know. We're terrible. You know, used to, when I met Canadians, I would make this joke where I would say, you guys owe us an apology for Justin Bieber. But I can't make that joke anymore because now the U.S. owes the rest of the world an apology for Donald Trump.
Yes. Very true. And we already apologized for Celine Dion. So, and what's her name? Oh, good Lord. She's old school. I can't remember her name. Anyway, not important. All right, so like the late, great Christopher Hitchens. Oh, I should say thanks, everyone, for tuning in and hanging out with us. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And like I always say at the end of these things, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.